When I was 16, my friend Lexi and I were trying to get super fit one summer. So we made a pact that we were going to swim around this one rock every day that summer. The swim wasn't that long, it only took like 15 minutes. But the rule was that you had to swim around the backside of the rock. You couldn't just go out and back. You had to go behind it. And the backside of the rock was always a little scary because once you got behind the rock, no one on the beach could see you anymore. So if anything happened to you, you'd be on your own. But we were ridiculously intense about it. Like we went turbo beast mode. We said that no matter the weather, no matter the size of the waves, the strength of the rip current, we would swim around the rock for the entire month of July every day. And we were super serious about this commitment. Like one day, Lexi ate a really bad pepperoni calzone and had the worst food poisoning. And she was literally shitting her pants. And I was like, Lexi, you don't have to swim with me today. And she still swam with me that day. Then one day, in the middle of July 16th actually to be exact, because I remember, we were swimming around the rock and something bad happened.
Would I be the asshole by not telling a guy I've been dating for a month that I'm having artificial insemination to be a single mother? Prior to lockdown, I decided to be a single mother by choice. The journey to accepting this has taken 2 years and included counseling and a very thorough plan to ensure I could do this alone. Right before I was due to have artificial insemination with the donor sperm, the pandemic hit and treatments were canceled. There was no timeline for when things may reopen. For a few days, I was devastated as I was so mentally prepared for this, and then I picked myself up and decided to park my plan. After all, I didn't have a choice. I downloaded a dating app out of curiosity and figured that I could still chat to guys and see what happened without having any expectation. I've been talking with this guy, let's call him G, and it's only been a month, so very early stage. However, we've met up twice and spoken many times on the phone. And I get a really good feeling from him. For the first time in years, quite frankly, I feel emotionally connected with the man and it feels completely natural and promising. During this time, my clinic called me to say they have an approval to open and do I wish to go ahead this month with my treatment. I want to be a mother more than ever, so I said yes, and now I'm on medication with... I have a 9-year-old daughter who I named after my late grandmother, Annabelle, and I'm currently pregnant. If I'm having a girl, I want to name her after my other grandmother, Rose. My sister got pregnant about 5 months before me and says she wants to name her baby Rose. I said our kids can share the name, but she says I already have Annabelle and could have named her Annabelle Rose, but passed up on the chance. So now I can't have Rose. I told her I'll look for something else, but reserve the right to use Rose if I want to. Then I fell in love with the name Rosalie. It honors my late grandmother, my boyfriend loves it, and it won't piss off my sister. A couple of weeks later, my sister gives birth and announces her daughter's name is Rosalie. I am beyond upset because now she's trying to snatch both names from me. My mom calls me to say she knew my sister was planning to do this and hopes I'm not upset because this means I can take the original name I wanted, which was Rose. But I told my mom I'm sticking with Rosalie. She says it's impractical because both Rosalies will have the same surname. My sister is a single mom and my boyfriend will be taking my last name. My sister then calls me to say I'm an inconsiderate prick and that I'm being petty. She can name her kid whatever she wants and I can't monopolize the name. I said true, so by that same logic, I can use Rosalie.
I literally want to cry. So if you didn't know, I have a sister, and her name's Ashley. And we both have boyfriends. And every night we both fall asleep on the phone with our boyfriends. So one day we're all hanging out and we're like just talking. And my sister's boyfriend looks at me and he's like, you need to stop going into your sister's room in the middle of the night. And I look at him and I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't have a reason to go into her room. Like, I don't go into her room, especially in the middle of the night. Then my boyfriend hops in the conversation and he's like, no. He's like, no, I hear Ashley go into Kayla's room every night and stare at her. So me and my sister both look at each other and we're like, we don't go into each other's rooms, do we? And we agreed that we do not. And they said this has been going on for months. So for months, somebody or something has been going into me and my sister's room for about 15 minutes every night and watching us sleep. But it only...
This is the story of my worst bar customer ever. I just met another bartender on a Thursday night, and we were pretty much waiting on this last table to leave. It was a group of guys with like 3 girls. The whole night, this one guy was flexing that he was going to put everything on his tab, and he was going to pay for everything so the girls could drink whatever they wanted. Of course, that meant I put everything on his tab. The girls left and went to the next bar, so it was time to close him out. When I brought him his tab without even looking at it, he demanded for my phone number before he would pay for it. I told him I wasn't going to give him my phone number and he needed to pay regardless. I brought his tab over a second time and his friends encouraged him to pay it so they could leave. That's when he threw a couple of crunched up dollar bills at me on the floor. I told him I wasn't going to pick it up. Then he called me a bitch and tried to grab me. The other bartender I was working with stepped in at that point and told him he needed to pay and leave. This guy swung a punch at my coworker but missed. That's when we had to call public security, and you won't believe what the guy...
If a website ever asks you these questions, don't do what she did. Once there was a girl named Masha who heard that there's a new service that gives everyone free internet access, so she decided to use it, but this would lead to something horrifying for Masha and her family. After she connected to this internet service, a web page popped up asking her to register some information, but the questions were oddly personal. It asked, what's your usual mode of transportation? With a photo of a bus, a boat, a train, and a plane. Masha took her bike to school every day, so she clicked on the train instead. But the next day, the local news showed that there was a horrific train crash that killed everyone on board. Masha thought that this was a coincidence, but soon she'd realized that she made a deadly mistake. Later, she needed to use the internet again, so she logged back in. This time it asked, what kind of home do you live in? Along with 4 different pictures of different types of homes. She clicked apartment even though her and her family lived in a house. And the next day, the apartment building near her school burned down. The police suspected arson. Then she went back to the internet server one last time, but this time it showed a photo of her mother, father, sister, and herself with the question, who is your favorite family?
My cousin Millie is 30 years old and is an ER nurse. Her birthday was a few days ago and we planned a birthday prank, which was leaving a fake snake on her cake. All fun and games because we do this every year to every family member. Well, apparently this year Millie didn't want it, so she was pretty pissed at the fact that we didn't. Now, a few days ago while I was in school, I got a call from Millie during lunch. I thought it would be her saying she's picking me up, but it wasn't. She proceeded to tell me that my mother had passed away in a car accident. My heart dropped and I felt like puking. My mother and I don't have the best relationship, but I still love her. Millie began to tell me the details of the death and what exactly happened, to the point I hung up on her and called my mother. My mom, who was supposedly at work as a nurse, didn't pick up and I ended up running to the bathroom. I called my dad, bawling my eyes out and telling him what happened. He didn't understand what I was talking about because he called my mom right before I called. He made me explain everything and understandably he was pissed. He picked me up from school and called my mom in the car just to prove that she was alive and okay. That night, my aunt, who's not Millie's mom, called a meeting to her house and we all talked it out. They were all pretty much disgusted with Millie as she tried to justify her choices, but she ended.
When you go to sleep tonight, don't do what she did. Once there was a young woman named Alicia who moved into a very old house with her parents, but she could have never expected the horrifying things that this would lead to. After living in this house for a few weeks, things started becoming strange. Alicia noticed she was becoming weaker and feeling sick. Pretty soon, she couldn't leave her bed and was asleep for most of the day. The doctors came to examine her and everyone wanted to find out what this mysterious sickness was, but no one had any answers, until one day Alicia passed away while sleeping. Then, after her funeral, her mother came home and with a broken heart began cleaning her room. That's when she noticed something strange about Alicia's pillow. There were 2 small red stains. She picked it up and realized the pillow was unusually heavy, so she called her husband to go look at it with her. Then Alicia's mother felt something inside the pillow move. Her father opened the pillow and took all the feathers out. There they saw something crawl out. It was a monstrous black spider. Night after night, as Alicia lay in bed, this huge spider had been slowly drinking all her blood through her pillow.
Am I the asshole for still not letting my sister into my house after she made me miss my daughter's birth? Frankly, I don't know if I'm being an asshole. Family seems to think I am, so just want to know what others here think. My sister is 25 and was going to meet her dad, who was not my dad, for the first time in almost 18 or 19 years, and she was really nervous. She asked me to go with her for support. He was staying at some hotel about 30 minutes away, and the whole ride over there, my sister had my phone to give me directions. My wife was calling me because she'd gone into labor. Then my mother-in-law was calling me too. My sister put my phone on Do Not Disturb without me knowing and erased the notifications. I didn't even realize it until after we were leaving from having lunch with him an hour and a half later that she'd been calling me. All my sister told me was that I had a missed call. When I found out, I was yelling at her the whole ride to the hospital. Her only excuse was that this was a big emotional moment for her meeting her dad and she was scared doing it alone knowing how her anxiety is. This was the only time they'd have to see each other since he was leaving in a few days and wouldn't be back for months. I really couldn't believe it. By the time we got there, my daughter had already... My fiancé and I are getting married this September. The issue lies with the dress code. We have been clear from the beginning that this is going to be a white tie event, so of course there are strict rules attached to that. One thing we are really looking forward to is our wedding shoot. We have spent a large amount of our own money on a photographer. The photographer is highly sought after in our area and we were lucky to book him last year in advance, so naturally we were taking this seriously. The invitations we sent explicitly told our guests what we would be expecting from them. White tie, no unnaturally dyed hair, no visible tattoos or piercings, and that they were free to decline the invitation if they had a problem with this. We also sent everybody who RSVP'd a reminder over email several weeks ago repeating this instruction. This is going to be fine until one of our mothers has recently posted on Facebook a picture of a cocktail-style dress she wants to wear on the day. Of course, this isn't included in our dress code, so we informed her right away that the dress would be unacceptable. Unfortunately, this has caused a lot of unnecessary drama throughout both of our families and even some friends. Both set of parents, cousins, some siblings, and many more people have messaged us privately to ask us to relax on our dress code and allow them to be flexible.
This is why you should never look through someone else's things. After Ryoko followed her roommate Yuki one night to a cemetery, she found Yuki laughing hysterically over a grave. She got scared and ran home, but Yuki never came back. The next morning, Ryoko found out something terrifying. Yuki's body was found by the cemetery the next morning. She had unalived herself right after Ryoko ran away. It turns out the grave that she was sneaking out every night to go see belonged to her ex-boyfriend, and she never told anyone. Ryoko was shocked. She felt sorry for Yuki, but also thought that it was really strange. Why was Yuki laughing? A few days passed and Yuki's belongings are still in their room. It seemed like she didn't have any family or friends coming to get it either. Then she found something she never should have. Ryoko flipped through Yuki's things until she found her diary, and when she flipped to the last page, she froze. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. On the last page, written in red ink, it said, "I know you saw me."
So did we all go to high school with a girl that pretended to be pregnant? So here's my story. The girl literally was my friend. I've known her since elementary school. So I remember one day she just stopped coming to school. She just stopped. So me and my little friend group was texting her, messaging her, trying to reach her. Like, girl, where you at? Where you been? It's been a month. So then there's a rumor going around school that she got kidnapped by a black family. Yeah, she was. So one day she came to school. But she came to school with a bandage on her stomach, telling us that her mom had stabbed her in the stomach because she found out that she was pregnant and tried to kill the baby. But the story didn't make no sense because she was like, yeah, I was 2 weeks pregnant. And we was like, how do you, girl, no, the math is not mathing. So then it turned out she just was in foster care and during that time. And I, to this day, still don't know why she lied.
When my parents decided to get a divorce, I chose to stay with my dad. He was more financially stable, and he also promised to take care of me in the future and help me go through college as long as I graduated. When my grandmother from my mother's side passed away, I received a $30,000 inheritance, and recently my grandfather from my father's side passed away and left me with $50,000 as well. I was also working part-time jobs, and with all of that, I was able to save enough to comfortably put me through my 4 years of school. One day, my mom surprised my stepsister and bought her a brand new car. I was kind of shocked because it was way out of their budget because I knew they were struggling financially. When I looked at my bank account, I saw that a majority of my money was missing. I have my mom on all of my accounts because she wanted to monitor to make sure I don't spend too much money. I never would have thought she would have taken this and paid for my stepsister's car. Her reasoning was that my stepsister had a brighter future and had a bigger possibility of going to an Ivy League school and providing for us in the future. I, a student who gets mostly B's and C's, would just take over the family business, so I didn't really need it, and I could always work in the future.
Story of the time I faked a leg injury just to take the elevator in school. So this was my junior year of high school, and I've always had really bad social anxiety. Every time I would walk through the hallways, I felt like everybody was just staring at me and talking about me. Which I'm not even gonna lie, most of the time they were looking and talking about me. Because for some reason in high school, everybody was just so obsessed with my life. But that's a rant for another video. So one day I was wearing heels in front of my parents and I ended up twisting my ankle or something. And it hurt. So when I told them that it hurt, I wasn't lying, but it was only sore for a day. Shh. And during this time, I had really big drama with a bunch of girls. I don't remember what it was about, probably a boy. So I literally dreaded walking through the hallways because they always would be saying something. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I just tell my parents to take me to the doctor? So I skip school the next day, go to the doctor, get a doctor's note saying that I can't walk down the stairs and that I need to use the elevator and leave class 5 minutes early. So yeah, if you need to avoid people, just fake a leg injury, go to the doctor, and problem solved.
I'm currently 2 months pregnant, but my mother-in-law has clearly stated she is not happy for me and hates that I'm pregnant. She's been coming over a lot to cook for us, but I haven't been eating her food. Not because I don't like it, I'm just in a lot of pain and very nauseous, but she's always complaining about it. I've been taking a lot of vitamins for my pregnancy, and when my mother-in-law asked, I didn't think much of it. This past Sunday, she came into our house and stayed for hours. Everywhere I go, I see her looking for something. I ask what she's looking for, but she doesn't say what, so I walk away and give her privacy. The past few days, I've had really bad abdominal pain, upset stomach, headache, and nausea. So when I called my doctor, she asked if I was taking anything, and I said yes, vitamins. She asked me to bring them in. That's when she told me it wasn't vitamins, it was actually aspirin. I knew right away my mother-in-law was the one who switched them out. I can't believe it. My mother-in-law made me feel so sick, and I almost miscarried if I didn't go see a doctor. I told my husband, and he confronted his mom. She completely denied it and said she would never do anything to harm her unborn grandbaby. It's so clear that she replaced my vitamins and she's lying about it. I'm so upset and I feel like I'm not being safe with her. I have no trust and I want her out of my life. But my husband says we have no proof.
Storytime are the most dirtiest college roommate ever. By the way, we're calling her Jessie. So I moved in before Jessie and I get settled and decorate. The next day, she comes and throws her bag on the bed, then leaves. I thought it was weird because she didn't even say anything to me. Couple hours later, she comes back and I'm like, hello? And she's like, my bad, and comes and gives me a hug. She smelled very bad. She starts unpacking all of her clothes and blankets, but they smelled like mildew. Anyways, a week later, there's this party going on for freshmen, and she goes, but I stay in because I had a migraine. I told her that when she comes back, can she keep the light off? Now it's 2 a.m., and she comes back in very loud, uses the bathroom, then goes to sleep. And now I'm up, so I got up to use the bathroom too. When I sit down on the toilet, I feel something very squishy. It was dark because, like I said, I had a migraine. I get up, turn the light on, and I was sitting in her shit. Part 2 will be up soon.
Am I the asshole for pouring my drink on someone who threw hers in my face first? I went out clubbing last night with my friends. There were 7 of us, 3 guys including me and 4 girls. My girlfriend Hannah was meant to come too, but she was feeling ill. I offered to stay in with her, but she insisted I go out and have a good time. At the club, my friends got talking to a group of women who apparently worked in finance. They were here for some kind of conference and were checking out the local places in their spare time. One of them, Lauren, started trying to chat to me and asked for my number. She was pretty, but I was not interested as I have a girlfriend. I told her this, but she then started asking for pics of Hannah. I showed her and she said that I could do so much better than that. I was very annoyed and told her to leave me alone. Later on, me and my friends were dancing and Lauren and her group came up to us and she started trying to dance with me. I gave her the brush off once again and moved away from her and she gave me a dirty look. A while later, she came back and by that point, she was very drunk. She smirked at me and threw her drink in my face. I was absolutely fuming and in response, I poured my beer on her head. She started crying and ran to the bouncer who got us all kicked out.
One time I was behind the register at Victoria's Secret. This customer walks in and immediately everybody spots her as a red flag. She's just picking up items, throwing them in her bag, not looking at sizes, not looking at colors. So everybody's like, everyone's on their walkie like, watch this customer, she's coming to the room. She's headed to the cash truck, somebody get her, check her ID, get her. She has a bag full of stuff, and guess who gets her at the register? Me. So she comes to my register and she dumps out her stuff, and we're having a regular conversation. Hi, how are you? Yada yada yada. Her total comes up to probably between $700 to